Sound off with me, folks, on Jaylen Brown channeling his inner Michael Jordan. And the Boston Celtics not only getting back into the win column, but doing it in absolute dominant fashion. A 142-105 win over the Indiana Pacers to snap a losing skid. Would you call it a losing skid? It was only 2 straight losses. But the Celtics snapped that losing streak and get back into the win column with a dominant win. And this was all because of Jaylen Brown setting the tone right out of the gates with 15 points during the first quarter on a perfect 6-for-6 shooting. And that was just a sign of things to come during this game. But we can rewind to earlier in this day to understand that this day was all about Jaylen Brown. And that's because Sports Illustrated announced earlier today that Jaylen Brown, was named by them as the NBA Player of the Year. And we all know why, okay? He made his third All-Star game of his career earlier in the season. And then what he did during the NBA playoffs, no one can argue against it. He was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and then went on to win the NBA Finals MVP. So for a player who won his first NBA championship, for a player who won 2 MVP awards during that playoff run and also made his third All-Star game of his career, that's a heck of a season. And now he's gotten off to a pretty strong start to this season as well. So congrats to Jaylen Brown for being named by Sports Illustrated as their Player of the Year in the NBA. But again, that was just the start of this unbelievable day for him. He finishes tonight's game with 44 points on 16 for 24 shooting from the field. He actually wound up making his first 9 shots of this game. And at one point, he had 10 made field goals, and the entire Pacers team had 16. So he was almost matching Indiana's entire team all by himself. And when I talk about channeling his inner Michael Jordan, I'm saying that with a serious face. Like, he had moments tonight where he looked like Michael Jordan. The way he was getting downhill and the way the opponent could not stop him. The way that he was throwing windmill, poster dunks during this game. He had 2 dunks that were posters during this game. One of them was actually on a defender, a monster strong slam down the lane, and then the other one was on a fast break that was a windmill dunk in the middle of a game. On top of that, his mid-range game was hot. His shot from long distance was hot. And as I said, he was getting downhill and getting to the rim as well. So Jaylen Brown doing it on all 3 levels and looking a bit like Michael Jordan as he did it. Like, there were a couple of plays in there that literally, the way that he was pulling up off the dribble in the mid-range, it reminded me of the greatest player to ever play this game, and that is Michael Jordan. So just an unbelievable performance from Jaylen Brown and an unbelievable day for Jaylen Brown. Named NBA Player of the Year by Sports Illustrated at the start of the day, and then he ends it with a 44-point season-high performance against the Indiana Pacers while leading the Celtics back into the win column with a 37-point win. And this was a complete win for the Boston Celtics. Like, top to bottom, everyone played well. Yes, Sam Hauser didn't shoot the ball well. We're going to talk about him a little bit more in this episode. But generally speaking, everyone contributed in a positive fashion in one way or another. The defense also looked much better during this game, wound up holding the Pacers to only 42% shooting during this game, 28% from long distance, while forcing 13 turnovers. Those are numbers Joe Mazzulla wants to see every night this team takes the court. And by the way, Joe Mazzulla had some critical comments about the defense after the last game on Christmas Day. So he's got to like what he saw today against the Indiana Pacers, and I think the fan base, which was chirping a little bit about the defense, also has to be happy about what it saw from Boston's defense. Really just a great interior performance, a great perimeter performance. This was a great defensive effort across the board. So a great win for the Celtics while getting contributions really from everyone across the board. Another thing that we got to talk about is one of the people within that group that surprised us a little bit with his what he contributed to this win, Jordan Walsh. arguably his best performance of the season. Not only brought a ton of energy and effort to the table, which, by the way, he has to do that every time he gets onto the floor. That is his role on this team, is to fly around, make effort plays, and provide the team with energy and great defense. He did that tonight. But on top of that, he also shot the ball with a lot of confidence. And that's what you love to see in the development of Jordan Walsh. So tonight, he comes in, he scores 9 points on only 3 shots. That's about as efficient as you can get on a low-volume shooting night. And he does that in 21 minutes of action. Also added in 5 rebounds and 2 assists during that time. So love to see Jordan Walsh not only getting minutes, but capitalizing on them, playing well, and helping the Celtics to grab a runaway win. Love to see it from Jordan Walsh and want to see a lot more of that here moving forward. The last thing I got to point out here is Jayson Tatum in the rebounding department. If you are not paying attention to what Jayson Tatum is doing on the glass this season, I'm going to stop you right now and tell you, pay attention to Jayson Tatum's rebounding. Okay, he's almost averaging a double-double on the season. He's never been close to that in his entire career, which is very accomplished, as we all know. At this point, he's averaging 9.6 rebounds per game. That is by far a career high. He's now rattled off 8 straight games of grabbing at least 10 rebounds. That's the longest streak of his career. 3 straight games with at least 13 rebounds now. He grabbed 13 during this game. He grabbed 15 in each of the last 2 games. So Jayson Tatum, a guy who was known as a scorer around the NBA, he is doing it on the glass this season. He is dominating the rebounding department, and he's leading the Celtics in that category by a wide margin. So when you talk about MVP candidates and all-around play and impact, he gets it done on offense with his scoring. We all know he gets it done on defense. But now he's not only rebounding at a high rate, he's rebounding at an exceptionally high rate. The highest rate by far of his career. Not a lot of players can say that they're getting better at this stage of the career when they've accomplished as much as Jayson Tatum, but he is getting better. Another great rebounding performance from him. Again, by far the best rebounding season of his career, which is still young, but also he's logged a few years underneath him. So I don't know what's gotten into Jayson Tatum with regard to his rebounding this season, but I like it. I love it, and I want to see more of it. One more thing I do want to mention is that everyone who was kind of upset about the Celtics losing 2 straight, losing 3 out of 4, whatever it was, let's all pay attention to the fact that the Celtics have 8 losses this season, but they are all combined to be by an average of just 4.6 points per game. The Celtics are heading toward the new year. They got 2 games left in 2024. They still have yet to lose by double digits. Okay? They were the last team in the NBA to lose consecutive games. So take a chill pill. Celtics are back in the win column. They did it in dominant fashion. And by the way, even their losses this season have not been ugly. They have not been bad losses. We're talking about double digits getting blown out. No. They've lost 8 games by an average of 4.6 points per game. So always keep that in mind. When you want to get upset after a loss, just remember these losses are typically slim and they're also typically rare. Okay? Just had to say that before we move on. All right, we're going to take some comments from our fans. First up, we've got David with a shamrock after his name on Sam Hauser's recent struggles. Then we've got JT for 3 on a near-perfect team performance that we touched on already, but we're going to go even deeper. And then lastly, we've got T-Mac in Vermont on a bunch of takeaways from this dominant win. So let's get into our first one. David, you are up. All right, David with the 3-leaf shamrock. He says, do we think Sam Hauser will join the bounce back? Good game, but let's get consistent. All right, let's dive right into this question. Do we think Sam Hauser will join the bounce back? As in the Celtics bounce back tonight, will Sam Hauser bounce back? First and foremost, I don't think he's struggling. Like, he spoke this morning at shoot-around, and people made it seem like he's been so inconsistent this season. Hello, just by the way, he's shooting 50% from the field and 40% from three-point range this month, in December. He has missed games due to his back issue, but he's been back, and he's shooting 50% from the field and 40% from three. So it's not like he's struggling. During this game, he did not shoot the ball well. Okay, we can't beat around the bush on that. 0 for 5 from distance. I believe it was 2 for 8 from the field overall. So not a great game in terms of shooting the basketball from Sam Hauser tonight. But while he was on the floor, the Celtics played well. You can't argue against it. He was a plus 12 in only 19 and a half minutes. So not like he was being exploited by the Indiana Pacers while he was on the floor. Still contributed to a victory, okay, even though he didn't shoot the ball well. But remember, when you think that he is struggling, it's easy to think he's struggling because you've seen him in and out of the lineup, but he's really not. Like, again, 51.2% from the field this month, 44.4% from distance, and that includes tonight's struggles shooting the basketball. So Sam Hauser's going to be fine. He's one of the elite shooters in the NBA. I am not worried about him, and I anticipate that if he doesn't get back on track with his shooting after this game on Sunday when the Celtics take on this very same team, the Indiana Pacers, it'll happen in the next one. Like Sam Hauser, I have no concerns about his shooting ability because that's what he does. By the way, he's one of the most underrated defenders in the NBA, but shooting is what he does. We all know he's one of the top shooters in the world, and he'll get back on track after this underwhelming shooting performance. He'll get back on track very soon. Good game, but let's get consistent. David says, yeah, I think the team is going to head back in the right direction. This has just been a little bit of a rough patch, and I think that maybe these struggles have come because of an inconsistent schedule, players in and out of the lineup. If the Celtics get healthy and they can have some consistency with their lineup, I anticipate that they're going to be just fine as we not only head into the new year, but then head through the month of January, which, by the way, is a gauntlet of a schedule that they've got in January. But I think they're going to do just fine. They're going to play much better than their 7-5 record that they have so far in the month of December. All right, next comment coming in from JT43, saying, Celts don't like losing. Near perfect game from all players, with JB leading the crew to a much-needed bounce-back W. All right, first up, Celtics don't like losing. That's for damn sure. And I think everyone knows that across the board. That's why the Celtics were the last team in the NBA to ever lose consecutive games this season. Okay, it just happened in the past 2 games, and then they come out and they dominate the Indiana Pacers. And by the way, the conversation before this game was about how the Indiana Pacers always play the Celtics tough. Siakam was out there. Miles Turner was out there. Mathurin was out there. Tyrese Halliburton was out. Like, many and most of their top players were out there playing tonight. A team that always plays the Celtics tough. Gary Washburn was asking Joe Mazzulla about that before tonight's game. And what did the Celtics do? They come out and just clobber and annihilate these same Pacers that typically play them tough. So, to your point, JT, for 3, the Celtics had something on the mind, and that was getting back on the right track. And that was dominating this game. They do not like losing. They for sure did not want to lose their 3rd straight game. So they stopped what could have turned into a downward spiral. If they lose 3, then you never know what's going to happen after that. Oh, nope, they're back in the win column already. Back up to 23-8 on the season, and they've got a chance to make it 24-8 when they take on this very same team on Sunday. The rest of the comment, near perfect game from all players. We already touched on that. JB leading the crew to a much-needed bounce-back W. I just love the fact that Jaylen took it upon himself to set that tone right out of the gates. He was dominant, an unstoppable force. As I said at the start, he felt a little bit like Michael Jordan during this game, the way that he was just unstoppable with his athleticism and his shooting ability. But love seeing him set the tone out of the gates and then watching the rest of the roster fall in line right behind him. And that's another thing that we can talk about, is that the great thing about the Celtics, and we've seen this especially during last year's playoff run, and the run towards 64 regular season wins is they've got one guy in Jayson Tatum who can dominate games individually, and then they've got another superstar in Jaylen Brown who can dominate games individually. Offensively, I'm talking about, in terms of putting points on the board. So you've seen a bunch of that from Jayson Tatum this season. Now you see an outburst from Jaylen Brown with a season-high 44 points. Love to see more of it. These guys kind of trading games where they take over and lead the team offensively. It was a great game from Jaylen tonight. The rest of the crew fell in line, and something tells me Jayson Tatum's going to have one of those games coming up soon, and he's had them recently in the past during this month. These guys are both dominant superstar players who can set the tone early and lead the Celtics into the win column each and every night. All right, last one of the night coming in from T-Mac in Vermont, and she says her reaction to this game is that Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are the best duo in the NBA right now. Jordan Walsh has that dog in him. Peyton Pritchard will never let us down, and we need one game where everybody wears Jaylen Brown's 7-4-1 performance sneakers. I don't think that's going to happen, that last part. All of these guys have different deals for their shoes. Obviously, we know Jayson Tatum has his own signature sneaker with the Jordan brand, so I don't think that's going to happen. However, tonight we did have all three players on the court for the Celtics wearing Jaylen's shoes. That was Jaylen himself. That was Peyton Pritchard, who has worn them very often throughout the season. And then Jordan Walsh also played in those sneakers tonight, and all three of them played well. Okay, Jaylen Brown, 44. Peyton Pritchard, 18 off the bench. He had a strong shooting performance. He bounced back from some struggles in the last game. And then, as we talked about, Jordan Walsh put up 9 points. So what is that? 62, about 70 points out of the three of them. That's pretty darn good out of the guys who were wearing the 7-4-1s. But back to the original point from T-Mac here. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are the best duo in the NBA right now. I don't even think you could just say right now, like they are the best duo in the NBA. I don't even think that's arguable at this point. These guys are both perennial all-stars. These guys can both get it done at both ends of the court. And I personally don't think that there is another duo in the league that can make a claim like that. These guys are superstar wings who dominate at their own pace and at their own times throughout games, and we saw it again tonight. And they both contributed in very different ways during this game. Jaylen put up all the points. Jayson Tatum put up all the rebounds. And by the way, he scored some points as well during this game. I think he finished with 22. Yep, 22 points on 7 of 15 shooting. So these guys just complement each other so well, something that a lot of people did not think was going to be the case when they opened up their careers together. But here we are. They are NBA champions, and they are the best duo in the NBA. In my opinion, it's inarguable. And here we have T-Mac in Vermont saying the exact same thing. Jordan Walsh has that dog in him. We'd love to see it tonight, as we've already talked about. And then Peyton Pritchard will never let us down. Occasionally, he's going to have rough shooting nights. Same thing with Sam Hauser. But these guys have the track record. We always know they're going to bounce back. So great performance across the board. Jaylen Brown had an amazing day. Started with that Player of the Year nod from Sports Illustrated and ends with 44 points. And then the Celtics wind up winning by 37 points. We all get to look up to the Jumbotron and see Geno Time dancing up on the big screen tonight at TD Garden. That means it's a blowout, and we love to see Geno up on the big screen. The Celtics will look to do the very same against this very same team on Sunday. It's the Celtics and the Pacers with a rematch Sunday evening. Tip-off is at 6 o'clock. You can catch the game on NBC Sports Boston, and I'll be right back here with another episode of Sound Off after that game. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Throw some comments down beneath. Let me know how you're feeling after this game, and then send in some comments after the game on Sunday, and I'm going to take a few of them right here in our next episode of Sound Off. Thanks for listening. Have a great Friday night and a great weekend, and I'll see you Sunday night.